welcome back everybody. This is Charlie from Spencer Pirates with a couple more gameplay videos from locals this week. We had a pretty full crowd this week, so we had a few matches, but I was only able to grab two. Juan chose to go second this time after winning the dice roll. I elected the mulligan, I can't remember exactly what I saw, but I didn't see enough of what I was looking for, which like my Hioris, my Izos, my Denderos, things like that. They get me kind of good for pressure. First turn, drop the Momo Searcher just to play him. Obviously, I can't get off the search without an additional Don, but first turn play, I might as well get him on the board. That way I can use him later. Juan does the Pudding Searcher. It's kind of looking, just reading over my leader once again. Red Griotun still confusing if you're not used to it. I believe he took the Katakuri, and then he passes back to me. Draw, and I end up spending one Don to go ahead and get off that Momo search. I elect to take the Otama, another searcher there, and 2k counter, and I just go ahead and play her right away. I'm trying to cycle through. I didn't see a lot of what I was looking for in the start. I actually take a Ryuma, which I just added to that deck at the start of that tournament. I was trying to change some stuff up. I took out some carrots that I had that weren't really doing it for me. Then I just swing 6 at life. He counters out with the Sautery for the 2k. Next turn, Juan draws, and he's deciding what he wants to do here. Actually, funny story, he's one of the first people I ever played when I first started. He ends up dropping that Sanji blocker and then just swings 5 at my lead, which I do elect to take. 5 Don turn here. Deciding exactly how I want to play this. I just spend the 1 to search again with the Momo, trying to get as much use out of him while I have him on the board. Usually he goes pretty quick, and then I'm deciding which exactly I want to take, and I end up taking that Hiyori, which is crucial for my mid game to late game here. And then I end up playing her right away, pop her effect, and drop the Izo, giving that rested Don to my leader, and therefore getting my leader effect. So he goes up to 6k. He elects to take the hit there. And then I pass my turn. All right, now he's drawing for turn. He's got quite a pretty big hand size, so he's got a lot of moves it looks like he can make here. I'm kind of just going back and forth thinking that I'm not really in the prime board state here that I like to see. He drops the Gadatsu, ends up KOing my Momo, which I did get 3 searches out of, so I was pretty happy with. But no more, ends up taking him. Then he ends up using Katakuri's ability to see what his life is and move some stuff around, and then ends up swinging at me, and I end up taking that life. On my next turn, I'm deciding I'm now at the 7 Don, so I've got a few more Don. I can start making some of my bigger plays, not quite my late game plays, but now it's kind of just thinking about how I want to maneuver my Don, so to speak. So I've got the 5-cost Yamato in my hand, which is really good into yellow, and I'm debating on if I play her out here. I'll go ahead and just swing the 7k at lead with my Izo, just to see if he likes to take her block, and he actually does take the block there. So the Sanji counters the hit, and then this is where I'm debating if I drop the Yamato or not. So I kind of readying my Don, thinking about it, because if I play a Hiyori into one of my 5 costs, at least I will be able to do a little bit of more Don play. On that one, I just attach 2 to my leader and swing 8 at lead. He's deciding if he wants to counter out of that. You can kind of see a little bit of what he has in his hand there. Obviously, I know that now, but I'm kind of just thinking what's going to happen. And he actually ends up taking the hit, triggers into another Sanji blocker, able to get that on the board to counter some hits. That's when I end up dropping the Hiyori into the Yamato, and then drop another Momonosuke. The Yamato here is big. I added an additional one of those into this deck specifically for the yellow matchup. Even if I don't get the full use of an attack or anything like that, having her presence on the board is huge. That double attack banish is like a yellow player's worst nightmare, so they usually try to remove it as quickly as possible, whether it's KOing it with some sort of effect, or even just, Katakuriing it, things like that. But he actually ends up Katakuriing the Sanji into the bottom of his life, kind of as a little bit of insurance for late game. And then he just swings 6 at me with the Gadatsu, and I give him the 1k counter. Back to me. This is where I've got some decisions to make. It is my 9 Dawn turn, so I'm actually able to start dropping, like a little bit of my bigger bodies. So like my dragon, I have a Whitebeard in there as well. But looking at my hands, I'm kind of thinking, okay, I've got my double attack banish Yamato on the board. Like, do I attach some Dawn to her and swing big? Which is actually what I do. So it's a 10k swing with my double attack banish. He's kind of counting to see if he can get out of it. I think he has like 5 cards in hand. It's a pretty big swing, and he actually has to take it. So it's actually a good one. I managed to banish both a blocker Sanji and a Satori, and then I just swing another 7 there with my Izo. After taking that double attack banish, he ends up countering out of this one, I think. Yeah, he gives me the counter there. And then I swing, once again, 7 with my leader, getting that leader effect from having my 5 costs on the board. And he does the You're the One Who Should Disappear, trashes the Kiku for the 8k block. And then I drop a blocker to end my turn, just to try to protect that Yamato, because now that I know what's on the board, and he's got a little bit more of a depleted hand size, and there comes the 10-drop Mom. Ends up trashing a Denjiro from my hand, getting a life for him. Obviously, the dreaded 10-drop Mom is always is a stressful play for anyone playing yellow, or at least anyone against a Charlotte Lin player. He ends up swinging 8k with the Katakuri at my Yamato. I end up giving him 4k counter, and then he swings again with the Gadatsu, and I drop another. He swings at my lead. I end up dropping a counter on that one. All right, back to my turn. Got all 10 Dawn up. I've got a little bit of a scary board there, at least from the standpoint as I still have that double attack banish. I've got the Izo, and then of course my leader. And then if I need to, I can still search. So I end up swinging big again with the Yamato. I know he doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, so I only swing a little bit. End up banishing a Beji, which is huge. As everyone knows, that card's really good from life. And then I swing with the Izo. He ends up countering out of that one. And then I'm kind of debating how I want to do this. I've got all 10 Dawn still. So swing just 5 with my leader. I know he has no cards in hand. He's forced to take the block, drop the dragon, swing with the dragon, and then there's the lethal hit. Having that dragon in my back pocket, I know if I can get through the block, I'm good to go. Didn't even need the effect. Good match, Swan. All right, moving on to the next one. It is a Doffy matchup against Will here. Super excited. Will took some time off the game. He's back playing, so that's super exciting. Always glad to see him back. He's a fun guy to play against. Super knowledgeable. And we end up starting here. So turn 1, he actually goes first. Rest of Dawn, ends up playing the buggy, getting that search off. I'm always stressed when playing against Doffy. Has the ability to flood that board like crazy, and it definitely can be stressful knowing that they could go from a board of nothing to a full board in almost no time at all. Get those 2 Dawn, just rest them right away to start searching with the Momo, throwing my cards around a little bit there. I think I end up taking, I'm looking at my hand here, I got a couple Hioris in hand, so I'm in a good spot there. I think I take the Denjiro. Yes, end up taking the Denjiro. Denjiro's such a good card into Oden if he sticks on the board. Getting those Dawn back, getting a lot of use out of him there. Attaching 2, resting that Dawn for Doffy doing Doffy things. Plays that Crocodile from life, from his deck. Doing that search, ends up coming up with 7 Warlords, puts that card back, and then gets that effect. And then ends up just swinging a little bit at my Momo. Blockers don't last long when they're small sometimes, and then he passes over to me. 4 Dawn turn, I end up doing the Hiyori play. Hiyori into Izo, attached on, draw a card. Then end up just swinging 7 at life, getting that leader effect now that I have that Izo in play. Ends up giving me the counter so that he doesn't take the hit, and then I pass my turn. All right, 5 Dawn turn here. He's got not a crazy board or anything like that yet, but he does have that crocodile on there as well as the buggy. I've got just the Izo, but kind of played out his move here to see, kind of allocating the Dawn, deciding exactly how he's going to play this one. Ends up just going with the 6K swing at my life. I end up giving him the 1K on the Dendro, and then he drops the pudding, which was definitely one that mixed me up. That pudding was, I had some good cards in hand. I had some plays, so always gotta be ready for the pudding just in case when you're playing not just a Doffy player but a blue player in general. In certain matchups, you build that hand size, you kind of map out your moves, but huge play with that. I end up drawing a couple searchers, stage, and then a few other things with that on the pudding. So not the end of the world, but definitely set me back a little bit. So now I've kind of got to decide how I'm going to play this. I end up playing the stage, knowing that I have a second stage in my hand. So in a pinch, I can trash that to get a Dawn back. As you got to trash the land of Wano to recover that Dawn. End up swinging just 7 at lead with the Izo, just to see if he's going to take. Ends up taking through, so I hit him for his first life there. Spend another Dawn, play the Otama, search for a green land of Wano. I think I end up taking another Denjiro here, but I also have a blocker, so it's kind of like a decision. Do I want to kind of protect myself? I will actually take the 8-cost Oden. Super good card. He's like a kind of like a Zoro, except he only restands once with 3 Dawn. And then I end up starting with the swing, 7K swing with my lead, just to see if he's going to take. And he ends up taking that second hit as well. Then I spend 3, drop the blocker for a little bit of protection on that one. 7 Dawn turn. It's got 3 bodies. Not really worried about the buggy, but crocodile pudding, couple Dawn that he could attach, got a couple good hits in there. It all depends on what he's going to end up doing. Doffy, as we know, can do lots of crazy things, so pretty good hand size, which was concerning just because I'm down to about 4 cards in hand and he's got 6 or 7, I believe. Ends up spending a few Dawn, playing into that boa blocker. That boa blocker into Doffy, so good. Able to search, reorder, and then apply some rested Dawn. Just as a side note, I was digging the gold Doffy Dawn. He was always trying to use those for the leader, just for fun, and I love it. I would love to see a full deck of those golden Doffy Dawn, but man, that would be expensive. Ends up swinging, attaching 3, resting the 1, swinging 8 at me. I end up taking that hit. Drops the law. Sends the buggy back to hand. I'm just checking the card here, just because I always want to make sure I'm following it right and whatnot. So I end up bouncing the blocker back to my hand, and then he passes for turn. I just hit that 8 Dawn turn. I've got that 8-cost Oden in my hand. Start off by swinging with the Izo, just another 7K swing. I know he's got that boa blocker, but we'll see if he takes or not. Got a few choices in my hand here. He ends up blocking. Then I end up playing the 8-cost Oden, spending the using my stage to get a Dawn back. And then he's just kind of reading the card there. Oden, restand on you have rest 3 Dawn, restand him, and then on KO, play a 3-cost or less Land of Wano from your deck. So able to play a blocker off of him once he gets KO'd. which is super, super important. I always try to remind myself because for some reason that is an effect that I sometimes forget about. I swing, and then he ends up actually blocking with the boa and then countering to protect it. So things are getting kind of heated here. I've got my 8-cost Oden there, so 8k, which can restand. Still have that Ezo on the board. He's got that boa blocker. He's got that pudding and the crocodile. So he's definitely got more bodies. I've just got a couple higher cost or higher attack bodies on the board. And then that restand, which is always dangerous. And then still have my stage as well. So I know I can, if need be, I can always get that 11th Dawn, so to speak, for use. Ends up playing the Gecko. Believe he pulls back the Mihawk. Yep, pulls the Mihawk back to hand. Spends 4, drops another crocodile, does the same thing. So now his board went from 3 bodies to back up to the full 5 bodies. Ends up swinging just 6 with his leader, and I end up countering out of that one. Now things get interesting. I'm at my 10 non-turn. Got some big bodies on there. Now is when I start to kind of decide. I just drew that Ryuma. So Ryuma KOs a rested 4-cost or less on play. Start off by swinging with that Oden, just 8 at lead, knowing I can restand him. Seeing if he'll take, kind of lay out my Dawn there. Kind of telegraphs what I'm going to do, but it's pretty obvious that I'm going to try to probably restand that Oden. But depending on what he does, I'm thinking to myself here, well, I've got that Ryuma, so we'll see if things go whichever way they go, and then I can try to see if I can KO something with Ryuma's on play. He ends up countering out of that first swing with a couple 2Ks. So I'm deciding back and forth here how I want to do this. So I attach 1 Dawn to Ezo, swing 8 at lead instead of just 7, seeing if that will kind of draw out the blocker or not, because I want the blocker gone. That blocker is kind of holding me back just a little bit. I want to clear it from the board as soon as possible, just because I know Doffy players usually have a multiple of those boa, so I definitely don't want to give him the opportunity to drop more boas than what he has on the board once he starts just applying pressure. Ends up taking the life, so now we're tied up 2 and 2. So I've still got 9 Dawn left, and I'm deciding how I want to play this. End up spending the 3 to restand my Oden. Not swinging with him as of yet. Still deciding exactly how I want to do this. So end up attaching 1 Dawn to my Oden, swinging 9 at lead, seeing if that will either draw out the blocker. It looks like he does block. And actually, he ends up countering to save the blocker, which works out really well for me. It actually ends up changing my play. I end up playing the Ryuma to KO the blocker because he KOs a 4-cost on play. Rested 4-cost on play. And then I swing, attach just 1 Dawn, swing with my leader for 7 at lead. And then he ends up giving some counter. So that turn might not have hit him for as much life as I was hoping for, but I was at least able to get a lot of cards out of his hand. So it kind of put me in a much better board state. We do both have a pretty terrifying board in terms of just sheer numbers. He's got 4 bodies that can attack in addition to his leader, and I've got kind of 4 as well, just because I've got, or 5 actually, because my Oden that I have on the board. Ends up attaching a Dawn to a Crocodile, swinging 1. I use the Oden to counter, just because all of my Landawano characters do gain that additional 1k of counter. Ends up attaching a lot of Don to his leader. Swings pretty big. I think he attaches 5 there, so it is a 10k swing. I end up giving him the 3k counter, countering to save my Oden. Then he attaches. He's deciding if he wants to attach, how much he wants to attach to his crocodile there. He ends up attaching enough to get him to 9k. I activate Izo's effect, trash a card from my hand. It ends up purging my entire hand, but it drops him 2k to 7k, so my Oden does survive. Now I've got a pretty set up board here. Only 1 card in hand, but I have effectively 5 attacks here. I've got my Oden, restand him, and then additional. So just kind of showing him my trash there. He was asking me a little bit about kind of why I made the change, the decisions I made. We were just kind of talking about gameplay a little bit, seeing how what he might have done instead versus what ended up happening. Ended up swinging 7 with Ryuma. He ends up taking that one there. Swinging 8 with Oden. He ends up taking that one there. No blockers, anything like that. So I end up spending 3, attaching the rest of my Don, swinging big, going full. So great match. That was a really back and forth match. Could have gone either way for sure. I got lucky with the amount of counter and stuff I had in my hand. Fantastic match. Always fun to play Will. Great guy. And then I love talking just gameplay. I was kind of explaining there that I just added that Ryuma to my deck that day.